All right. I think we're good. Recording is on and here we go. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get this kicked off. Welcome. Hope everybody had a great holiday vacation. Usually the last 2 weeks of the year, I like to take a lot of time and kind of plan for the coming year and look at what we did this year, what worked, what didn't work, what we can improve on, and really just plan to make the next year just a home run, right? Look for the opportunity, maybe map out some hypotheses about the markets, and just make sure that we're ready to hit the ground running. So with that said, I just want to kind of start by talking about the ethos of the Skill Incubator and really what my vision for our community is. As it says on our website, and we kind of talk about this from time to time, like the much bigger picture, the 30,000 foot overview is really learning valuable skills that can do three things. Number one, create more income, right? Like more monthly cash flow. Also building wealth, either passively or actively, and then having more freedom, right? And over the past 6 years, crypto has been my main focus. And that's because it's been not only the best performing and fastest growing financial market in the world, but it's also super interesting because of the borders that it really breaks down and the opportunity that it brings to people around the world, right? And in our community, we have a diverse group of people. Like some of you guys have been with us since 2013, and you've made life-changing amounts of money. And some of you guys and ladies are just beginning your journey. Maybe you've only been in crypto for less than a couple of years. And our theme kind of going into 2019 is to really help you guys maximize opportunities. If you're looking to start a company or scale something, we really want to maximize all investing and entrepreneurship opportunities, both inside and outside of crypto, right? And as you guys know, crypto is very cyclical. We go through these big boom and bust patterns. And for those of you that were there, with us from 2013 and 14, what we're going through now is basically the same thing, just on a larger scale, right? Percentage gains and losses basis. And the time frame of these boom and bust patterns is starting to get longer, right? And so what we want to do this year is really, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, is thinking about where the puck is going to be. I grew up playing ice hockey, and one thing that we thought a lot about and practiced a lot was actively skating and then passing the puck ahead of your partner. If you pass it to where he is right now, by the time the puck gets there, it's going to be behind him, right? And this is how I think a lot about investing and entrepreneurship. It's really counter herd mentality, right? Last year, the herd was buying Bitcoin, which is why we went from 1,000 to 20,000. This year, the herd panicked, which is why prices collapsed, right? And so my mind is always thinking where is the puck going? Where's the opportunity going to be? What is going to happen, or what is likely to happen that most people don't see, right? I spend hours every day kind of thinking like that. And what I want to do is kind of talk about first, what I see happening for crypto this coming year, and then also talk about some of the upgrades we're going to be making to the community and some of the other things that we're going to be adding and focusing on. So here's kind of where I see the crypto puck going in 2019, if you will. One thing that I'm really excited about, and I've spent a lot of time recently talking about this, is I think this is going to be the year that we see security tokens starting to launch. We're going to have, investment opportunities in venture equity and debt, basically startup equity and startup debt. Also real estate, intellectual property rights, art, and just really a wide variety of weird assets that most people haven't had access to. And so I'm really excited about that. I've been getting approved on some of these STO platforms and starting to evaluate deals. For example, some of you guys maybe saw the Harbor news where they're launching the $20 million round for student housing out of South Carolina. Over the past week, I've been doing due diligence on that, and I'm probably going to be making an investment in that. But I think that's just the start of this. I think 2019, we're going to see a ton of these STOs launch. And I'm much more excited about this over ICOs because I think it's much more sustainable, right? Like some of these deals are going to be startups, like companies, right? But some of them are going to be backed by hard assets. And so I think we're going to have a much better spectrum of high risk, high return investments, and also lower risk, lower return, like more stable assets like student housing or retirement homes, stuff like that, right? And I think that this coming year, we're also going to see many of the old school ICOs that are going to fail and go to zero. And that needs to happen. You know, I think we all kind of got caught off guard of how big the ICO bubble really got. And I think it's going to go down in history as like one of the most interesting economic studies ever, to see just how people, like when there's a gold rush, how many people will just blindly buy Ripple at $3, right? Stuff like that. So I think we need kind of a pruning of ICOs. And I think it's actually going to be a good thing that a lot of these fail, because what that's going to do is it's going to allow the cream to start to rise to the top, right? And I think that, you know, we're probably going to see, if I had to guess, less than 5% of the current active coins 10 years or 20 years from now be very, very successful. You know, think of like the stock market boom of 2000, right? Out of that, a lot of people lost a lot of money in companies that went bust. But out of that, we also got eBay and Amazon and Google, and basically the current most valuable companies in the world came out of that. I think we're also going to see some extremely valuable companies and projects that come out of the past 2 years or 3 years worth of work, right? And I think next year, we're also going to go back into phase one, accumulation, and possibly see phase two, which is the early trend, right? And so I'll just pull up the charts and we'll talk about this briefly, and then I'll get into the other stuff. All right, can you guys see my chart? Cool. So as we know, you know, crypto is very, very cyclical, right? And we have different analogies that we use to kind of talk about these, you know, either the 5-phase cycle or like the seasons of the earth, right? So like one thing that I really like to think about is the idea that there are different opportunities and risks that come with each season, right? So for example, winter season, like basically the entire year of 2015 was a winter season, right? And that was best for what? It was best for accumulation. It was best for learning and developing skills in the space. But the winter seasons are also the worst for active trading, right? Like for those of you that were with us in 2015, you know, this year was just so damn boring, but it was very profitable to accumulate, right? It's also really bad for just spending hours and hours a day watching markets. But then when you go into the spring season, right, this is where you have more active swing trading opportunities. The markets are starting to wake up. You get to hunt for opportunities. You get to ride trends, and whatever income sources and effort and things that you built during the winter season, you'll start to see which ones of those are profitable and which ones you can scale, right? And then when we go into the summer season, right, this is the time to pull off longer term positions, right? Take profit from multi-year position trades. Also, we want to become hyper focused on downside risk, right? We want to sell maybe some business assets or some things that you built during the winter seasons, diversify into other markets. And then the thing that you don't want to do in the summer season is don't chase hype or get caught up in FOMO, right? And then now kind of what we've been doing over the past year, for the entire year of 2018, basically, ever since we topped out when the futures launched, is in the fall season, that's the time where you have deflating asset prices, right? And you get some opportunities, right? Like we had some good like bounce plays the first quarter of the year. But outside of that, I mean, you can see volatility has been falling. We had the line of hope at 6K, and now we're at the next market structure zone. This, to me, is the time to be conservative and not swing at every opportunity, right? And I know some of you guys are more aggressive. Some of you are more conservative like me. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're on the more aggressive side or the more conservative side, as long as you think long-term here, right? And when it comes to the fall season, you need to work to stay optimistic in the face of emotional sheeple, right? Like, think of that. Like, think of all the negativity and the mudslinging and all the crap that happens in a bear market. That happens because prices go down and people get salty and they start blaming people, right? And this is the exact same stuff that we saw right about here. Like the same market sentiment, the same attitude, the same snarky remarks that you see in the news and from politicians and regulators, right? And just investors and people that bought the top here, right? So the idea, though, and one thing that I really want to drive home is that I think now is the time to really position yourself for the next market cycle and don't get hyper-focused on the short term, right? Think in terms of 12 to 36 months, right? Think about the next year, over the next year, going into 2019, through maybe the next halving into 2020, right? That's really the next market cycle. And then start accumulating into our next winter season, right? So before I go on, though, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. Again, I know some of you guys have been with us for over 5 years. Some of you are just getting started in this, but does that make sense? Do you guys understand that with the different seasons in crypto, you have different opportunities and risks with each season? Awesome. Okay. Because that's where really everything starts, right? And talking about like, where is the puck going? If you tried to treat this year like the early and middle part of 2017, then you would be having drawdowns, right? Like the only people in crypto that aren't experiencing drawdowns right now are people that have been net short, which I actually haven't been net short crypto this year. And I'm okay with that, right? And the reason why is because I'm thinking long-term. I'm thinking about the bigger market cycles, right? I swear on my family that I have no emotional attachment to this price whatsoever, right? And the way that you kind of experience that freedom from emotion is by thinking long-term and not getting caught up in the 5-minute charts, little spikes in every direction, right? So with that said, let me get back to my PowerPoint here. Right, so that's where I see the puck going. Again, just to recap, next year I think we're going to go back into phase 1 accumulation and possibly start to ramp up again in phase 2. And I'm really excited for the STO opportunities. I think that's going to be kind of the next phase, right? Like 2013 and 2015 were accumulations of Bitcoin. 2016 and 2017 was kind of the era of like actively trading altcoins. 2018 has been kind of the longest bear season we've seen so far. And then I think we're going to eventually shift back into phase 1 and then ramp up for the next halving. That's kind of my prediction. Now, obviously anything could happen. We could have a flippening. We could have, either a black swan, bull or bear event, right? Like we want to plan for all the possible outcomes, but that's what I think is going to happen this year. Now, with that said, I want to kind of talk about what our focus is going to be outside of crypto and some of the stuff that we're going to be adding to the community. So you guys don't have to do anything differently. You guys are going to get access to all this stuff. And some of it is going to roll out right away. Some of it is going to roll out over the next couple of months. But we've been working really hard behind the scenes, and we have some just really cool stuff for you guys. And before I dive into what that stuff is, I just want to give you this framework and kind of explain why we're doing what we're doing. And I want you to think of your financial stability like a table, right? And your money, your time, your freedom, your choices, all your assets are supported by the legs of your financial table, right? And the more legs you have, the more secure, right? So if you only have one leg, if you lose that leg, everything comes tumbling down. But if you have a bunch of legs, it's going to be much more stable. And a leg, in this analogy, represents a specific market, right? Like crypto or a business, right? If you own a business, or a job, right? If you have an income source, or a niche where you can create income and build wealth, right? And each leg is uncorrelated to the next, right? And LEG is actually an acronym for learn, earn, and grow, right? So you start by learning about a new business or a new market, and you develop the skills of that, right? For example, crypto trading, right? That's a separate skill in and of itself. And then in the crypto ecosystem, you can build stuff, you can create businesses that support the crypto ecosystem, you can be an affiliate marketer. There are dozens and dozens of ways that you can earn a risk-free income in the crypto markets, right? Meaning create income that's not tied to the price of an asset. And then the idea is to take that cash flow and then invest or actively manage that cash flow to grow your wealth, right? So learn a skill, earn income from a market, and then grow your wealth by being savvy and investing responsibly, right? And again, the more legs that you have, the more stable your financial house is going to be. So here's the risks of just having a single source of income or investing in only one market, right? The biggest risk is your table comes crashing down if, say, you lose your job, or there's a market collapse, or there's like a regulatory change, right? Like if you have all your eggs in one basket and your entire financial stability relies on one market, if that goes down or changes, that could be devastating, right? So a couple of examples of this are like the poker Black Friday in 2011. So I had several friends that were professional poker players online prior to 2011, and they were just making a killing. And what happened is the U.S. government basically, simplifying this, they made it online gambling illegal, right? And so everybody that was making a living from poker all of a sudden lost their biggest income source, right? A couple of people I know actually lost millions because their capital got locked up and they never got it back. And then some other people that didn't actually lose money, but they lost their income stream, right? It just got shut down overnight. Also, the crypto winters, right? Like mid 2013 was very slow, but that was only like 3 to 6 months. Then 2015, basically the entire year was just complete crap for trading, right? But that was the time to build. Also 2018, right? We've seen, if you look at the total market cap of altcoins are down over 90%, right? And we know why that's the case. But if you rely solely on crypto during these winter periods, that could shake up your financial stability, right? Also, the real estate crash of 2008. So I was in the mortgage game from like 2001 to 2007, and I was literally on the front seats of this. Like I was in subprime lending. I worked with some of the biggest home builders in the nation. And in the span of about 18 months, I saw people that had built their whole careers lose everything, right? And investors that were doing real estate full time go bankrupt, right? And so I think it's really wise to do the opposite and to think about the benefits of having multiple sources of income and being invested in different asset classes, right? Because changes, if you do this, changes in one market or one leg, if they go down, it won't destroy your table, right? You won't lose everything. And the cool thing about kind of building this multi-leg approach is you can dedicate your time and your capital to whichever leg is currently offering the biggest potential. For example, like I turned my attention completely away from the public markets in 2013 to focus mostly on crypto because I saw where the puck was going. I thought we were going to have explosive growth. And when I launched my book in 2015, it was literally like the low of the year. Like price was like $200. And, you know, so I turned my attention on the crypto leg, right? And then, so here's examples of like multiple legs. Like, let's say you're an entrepreneur or you have a job and this is like your primary business, right? Your primary income, your hustle income. And then let's say you supplement that with crypto investing and trading, which again is great some years and really boring in some market cycles. And then stock market investing and trading. There are so many ways that you can participate in the stock market in a really savvy way, right? Like you don't have to be a day trader. In fact, I would like, with the way that things are, the market environment in the stock market, I think day trading is a fool's game. I actually tweeted yesterday, the Wall Street Journal just published that over 85% of trades are now completely automated. And so what does that mean? Well, it means if you're going to try to compete on a short-term basis, you're competing against HFT algos and stuff like that. So I think you need to be wise about the way that you participate in these markets, but I think it's super smart to be exposed to the stock market if you do it the right way. And we'll talk about that in a second. Also, real estate, online passive income, either building or acquiring assets that pay you capital, and venture investments, right? Like investing in startups, right? There's so many different ways that you can build a really strong and stable financial house. And my goal for 2019 is, of course, to maximize the opportunities that we see in crypto, but also show you guys what other legs we're building and help you guys build those legs as well. Does that make sense, guys? Before we move on, you see the benefit to having multiple legs and how that can just make things so much more stable? Cool. So with that said, let's talk about what legs we're going to be launching and what stuff we're going to be talking about and what upgrades we're going to be making to the community. So after years and years of twisting his arm, I have convinced Travis DeVitt to join us full time. And he is going to be integrated with our community in a way that I am just like super, super excited about. So Trav, if you want to jump in and maybe just do kind of a intro of yourself and what you're going to be doing for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. Super excited about this. I think that, I've watched.
By the way, can you guys hear Trav? Do a quick mic check. I just want to make sure.
Mic check.
Can you guys hear
How's
him?
the sound?
Okay, cool.
Good.
All right, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, guys, I'm super pumped. I've been friends with Chris and followed Chris, in the community development of Skill Incubator for a long time, and just really impressed with, the quality that him and Rocky have brought to the table in terms of, their analyses and just like the way that they try to create value for the community. So I've been thinking about for a long time about how to bring, education and I guess just, tactics to the people as far as professional stock market investing goes. There's a lot of really bad content out there online. A lot of scam artists, a lot of penny stock traders and things like that pretend to know what they're doing. And I come from the professional world of investing where, I spent 8 years working at a hedge fund. We grew that fund from about 150 million of capital to over $1 billion of capital. We were listed on, Barron's top 100 global hedge fund lists for 4 or 5 years. We had returns that were, better than 99% of all the investors out there. And so, and I know a number of people at the, a lot of the top hedge funds that you read about, Greenlight Capital, Third Point, et cetera. So, I was pretty embedded in the industry. And the funniest thing to me is that like none of what the top hedge funds are doing is really even talked about online or, in individual investor circles. So I've been thinking for years about how to bring the tactics of professional stock market investors to like individual investors, because I think that information has been locked away in elite circles for too long. So when Chris and I started talking about, maybe there's a place for stocks within within the Skill Incubator ecosystem, I began to think about that and how we could make that happen. And what I love about this community is that you've got people leading it that really want to create value. And that was really important to me. Like, we don't want to just, create products and put out bullshit information. Like, we want to really bring value and actually help other people create wealth, because that's a lot more fun than like selling a bill of goods to people and, ripping them off. So, I want to see this community grow just like Chris does over time, and just have more and more millionaires within the group. I think that would be a really, really awesome goal. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So my goal is to bring, this perspective of how, professionals and really elite hedge fund investors make money, and give you those tools to do that within the stock market. So my focus is stocks. I've been an investor in the stock market for probably more than 15 years. But again, like 8 or 9 of those years professionally at a top hedge fund. I also do some private investing on the angel side. So I've got some value to bring there. And I actually spent 4 years helping build a tech startup here in Austin. So I've got some experience, on the operating side of companies as well. We grew that from almost nothing to over $100 million valuation as well. So a lot of interesting perspective on how you create good businesses, how good businesses create value, and where companies really, how to create growth in companies and what companies are doing the right things to create growth. So that's my focus. I'm excited to join the community.
Yeah, man. And some of you guys that went to Cayman, actually all of you guys that went to Cayman Islands over the summer with us met Trav. And as you guys know, I mean, he's just a super smart guy, has really good ethics and morals, and just brings a level of knowledge to the stock market that like literally none of the retail space gets. Right? Like, there's a lot of like regurgitated like theory out there teaching people about the stock market, but Trav's going to bring like literally professional level, hedge fund level stuff to what we're doing. And I'm just beyond excited about this. I think it's going to be awesome. So
he turned me from a day trader to an investor.
That's right.
It was so intriguing listening to him talk about investing. And I've been lucky enough to learn from him directly. And it's been awesome.
Yep. Awesome. So, Trav, glad to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on board.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And next up, so Nikki, my wife, is, one thing that we started talking about a few months ago was the fact that like there's really smart people, like people that have made a lot of money in crypto, but they don't really have like a solid foundation for their finances. Like, your biggest expense in life is not your car, not your house, but for a lot of people it's taxes, right? Especially when you get up in the upper earning ranges and capital gains and stuff like that. Like, it becomes a really big piece of the pie. And like, Nikki, why don't you talk about the stuff that you're focused on this year and what you're going to bring to the community?
Yeah, let me just quickly introduce myself. I don't know. Some of you may know me. Some of you may not. I taught day trading for a while, and I ended up switching from day trading to investing and swing trading, and I'm loving it. Thank you, Travis. And basically, like Chris said, day trading, kind of going back to his point, it's a tricky game, which is why I trade way less and I only get involved with momentum stocks and sectors that are really moving. Like, a great example of that has been the pot stocks recently. I know a lot of people were comparing that to like crypto stuff. It was interesting to watch. But so I am now basically investing, and I developed this passion for personal finance when I basically realized that a lot of people didn't really know how to take advantage of the basic wealth building principles, tax savings, compound interest, having your money in the right places. So I really want to take that and bring that information to everybody. A lot of you maybe know about it. Some of you maybe don't, but I think that there's something that can help everybody. There are many facets of maximizing your money, and some of the things we're going to talk about are going to be tax savings and tax strategies for U.S. residents. We're going to talk about learning how to get your sideline funds generating money for you. So any savings you have in emergency funds, obviously you want that money working hard for you while you're sleeping. Talking about asset protection, risk management, and knowing how to diversify funds and manage positions to your particular risk tolerance. So those are some of the things we're going to be talking about, and I'm currently working towards my certified financial planner certification. So I'm planning on sharing all the information with you guys.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, I think it's just so important to have a foundation of like just wise, basic choices, right? Like how to minimize taxes, how to we even do just weird stuff about like maximizing reward points. I mean, I don't think we've paid for a flight in years. And like Nikki said, like maximizing your emergency funds and just making sure that you're diversified and that you have a plan, right? And that's why you're pursuing the CFP is, again, like I'm not a financial advisor, but Nikki is going to be one that can help you actually plan for the future and think about things in a responsible way. And I just think that's going to be huge. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Galaxy. Cool. So here's what we're going to be doing. So Nikki and Trav are going to be playing a bigger role on a weekly basis. And what we're also going to be doing is rolling out like what we call micro courses and primers. So basically we're trying to pick different topics and distill the information down to a point where we can create like a primer course to get you guys in and start doing these different things. So like what we're going to be rolling out in January is Nikki's course that's called Maximize Your Money. It's going to just basically teach you all the foundational stuff of, tax savings and investing and just kind of the basics of like getting your financial house in order. And there's also a 2-week action plan that comes with that. And so basically when you log into the members area, anytime we launch one of these courses, we're just going to send you an email and a link and you'll just get access to it in the members area on Skill Incubator. Also from there, Trav's working on a stock investing primer. So kind of a quick start guide for anybody that hasn't invested in the stock market before. And also he's going to show you like the different ways that you can approach the stock market and why you should be in the stock market, right? Because Trav, maybe we can just talk about this real briefly, like talking about like how the stock market has been the best performing asset over time. And if you're not invested in it, that you're basically losing out on some big gains.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, there's some interesting academic studies that have been put out looking at all of the major asset classes, whether that's corporate bonds, government bonds, real estate, publicly traded stocks, et cetera. And my favorite one actually is one that was published 3 years ago. Has basically the best data sets going back through like 1850 with a number of, I think, 20 different countries across the globe, the G20 essentially countries. And what they found is, the publicly traded stocks have had the best real return. So the best return above inflation over the last, call it 150 to 200 years, with real estate as well being kind of right there as well. But when you look at asset classes as a whole, the stock market, at least over the longer term, has basically been the place to grow wealth. So,
I think that's great. So there's 2 ways that you could participate in the stock market. You could either be passive or you could be active. And so kind of with the stock market primer, like I think it would be helpful because I know there's some people that are like, I want to be active and manage my own money. And then some of you guys are like, well, I'm busy working on a startup or I'm busy doing what I'm doing over here. And I want to have exposure to the stock market, but I don't want to watch it all day or like necessarily be active. So there's really 2 paths. And like, what I wanted for this stock course primer is to really show you guys like the pros and cons and opportunities and risks of each option that you have. Michael says, please tell me this comes in my current subscription. Yeah, guys, this is all included. All these upgrades and all these micro courses and the stock stuff and the personal finance, all of this is a part of what we're doing already. So guys, we wanted to add a ton of value for 2019 and just like really drive home the bigger picture, which is helping you guys create income and build wealth and have more freedom. And like, again, I know crypto has been a big part of that and it's going to continue to be, but there's also this other stuff that we're just super excited about. And
I like how BitZen called it finance ninja training.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So here's some of the other stuff. We're going to do a course on like online income, how to build passive income online. We talked a little bit about this in the Cayman Islands, but, Rocky and I have several income streams online that make a lot of money. No, I'm not going to be shy about it. You can make a ton of money online, guys, just with like building assets. You can either build assets or buy assets and, either do the affiliate game or traffic generation game. And there's so many different ways that you can do this that I get really creative and try to find like, okay, what niches and what assets can I acquire that's going to kick off cash? And so, so that's going to be a part of it. Also a startup investing primer. We did a panel and came and kind of talking about this, like our experience in startup investing. But I know there's a lot of you guys that are like, yo, I want to get into investing in startups, but I have no idea where to start. So I'm going to create a primer on that. But also I have something huge that I'm going to talk about in a second. And then also launching a startup. So I've spoken to several of you guys that are actually building companies, and some of you want to bootstrap it, which means you want to self-fund it. And I know some of you are actively seeking capital. So we're going to put together a course, and I'm actually going to bring in some other people that are on the VC side and the investor side and the entrepreneur side to basically show you guys what it takes to get funded, right? Because there's a lot of misconceptions. Like people watch Shark Tank, right? And they think that's the way that angel investing works. But we want to show you guys like what VCs and angels look for in a company and like what the process is and how to actually take a company from inception to raising your first round and then like scaling from there. Which that's a huge topic, right? I mean, that could be a master's level thing. But my thing is I just want to show you guys that are working on something. Like, what does it take to get funded, and like, how do you get the momentum rolling? So what we're also doing, and I mentioned this in my last YouTube video, I don't know if you guys saw that, but we're basically putting together some resources for two sides of the coin, both entrepreneurs and angel investors. So if you're an entrepreneur, right, and you're looking to build a company and create something, we're, in addition to like that micro course, we're going to have ongoing training this year, and also make intros for people that we feel are a good fit. Like if we think you have a good shot at actually raising a round, we can make intros to our VC network. So I'm a venture partner in a VC fund called NextGen, and they are currently closing a $50 million round, which means that they are actively looking for startups to invest in. Okay, so you can look NextGen VP up on Crunchbase and Angel.co and stuff like that. You can see they have a ton of investments. And actually what's interesting about this, just to give you a little bit of background, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, Factum actually pitched our local angel network, our local NextGen network here in Austin before they even had a token. So we got access to Factum before anybody else. I didn't invest when they pitched, but I kept in touch with those guys and I knew what they were doing. So I was able to get in super early on Factum. So that's just like one case. Also, I believe NextGen's invested in Republic, the crowdfunding space, and basically NextGen's focus is tech and SaaS products. So if you're an entrepreneur working in that space, like we are highly incentivized to help you guys get funding. Right now, there's no guarantee that like if you start a company that I'm going to be able to raise $5 million for you, but if you go through the training and you're like, hey man, I think I'm a fit for raising capital, then let us know and we'll take a look and we'll give you really candid feedback and help you do that if that's a route you want to go. Okay. So that's on the entrepreneurship side. Now on the investor side, so if you are an accredited investor or if you're working towards becoming accredited, then I would suggest you learn about the private markets. And what we can help you with is get access to deal flow. So you could see and possibly invest in the same deals that we're in, and also get access to our network of investors. So again, if you want to become an angel investor and you're like, dude, I want to join up with NextGen and be a part of the fund and maybe invest in the fund or invest in just one-off deals, you have that opportunity and we're going to help you do that. Cool. So again, there's kind of two sides of that coin, either entrepreneur, like you're building something and you need capital, or you're an investor and you want access to deals. I'm going to be playing a pretty big role this year in sourcing deals and investing in stuff. So let's kind of recap. So far, we're introducing some changes to the community, right, on an ongoing basis. We're also going to be launching several micro courses and primers throughout this year. And so starting next week, we're going to be making some adjustments to the class schedule. So I'll send an email with kind of a recap of this stuff and the bullet points, but here's how things are going to look going forward. So Mondays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, so a little bit after regular market close for the stock market, Travis is going to be hosting a class, a stock market update class. So you want to kind of talk about maybe what you're going to go over in those classes?
Yeah, so it's actually a really exciting time now to be launching this because there's a lot of volatility in the market. So there's just a ton of opportunity, but there's a lot of noise too. So part of my weekly update will be focused on what are the things that matter in the market right now, like what is going to drive the market over the next month, and what things we should be paying attention to. So cutting through the clutter to really give, a macro view of what's going on in the market and the economy and what things we're paying attention to. During earnings season, we'll probably focus on trends in the earnings results from, the companies that are reporting and just sort of like how those reports are trending generally as well. So there will be, some updates about what's happening in the market broadly, but we'll also focus on, our existing watch lists and any major news that's coming out about the positions that we're tracking. So we'll dive into, some specific stocks each week as well and what's going on with them and how they're trading and where we think there might be opportunity. So we're going to have both kind of that macro and micro focus each week, and try to really, again, cut through the clutter of all the noise that is there in the market and talk about what really matters.
Yep. And so these will be run just like we're doing the current market updates with crypto, where, we come here in Zoom and then we'll record it. And then if you guys can't make it, we'll email it to you. Because I know, again, we have people all over the world. So if some of you guys are sleeping during this time, or you're working, or you just can't make it, or you want to watch it later, we'll post the recordings too, just like we're doing now. All right. So then next, what we're going to be doing while we're in this current crypto winter season, instead of doing 5 updates a day like Rocky's doing right now, where he's basically repeating himself over and over, we're going to be shifting that to a Thursday afternoon market class for crypto, where it's going to be a little more extended and we're going to go deeper on different topics. So one thing that again, going from fall back into winter and going into the accumulation phase again, I think the best way to look at the markets is to think again in that 1 to 3 year time period and start positioning yourself to be ready for the next cycle, and also look at the development and where the opportunities are. So what we're going to be doing is starting the class kind of talking about the latest developments and what the big opportunities we see are. So like, for example, I'm going to be doing analysis on like the due diligence that I'm doing on STOs. So like security tokens, different asset classes. Like I think one of the first classes we'll probably take a look at Harbor's real estate deal. And then, obviously we'll look at the live markets, but I want to get you guys focused more on thinking on that longer term horizon. And then obviously if we go back into like the spring or the summer phases, meaning like the early trends and parabolic move, where like all tides are rising and it's like, oh my God, we got to catch these trades, then we'll probably add in some more crypto live trading and stuff like that. But as you guys know, I mean, right now things are just so boring and so flat that we want to get you focused on the longer term picture and preparing for the next cycle, while also giving you more time to build other legs, right? So what we're also going to be doing is bi-weekly classes that are going to be focused on different topics, right? So could be personal finance, could be stock market, could be entrepreneurship, could be venture focused. But basically, you know, we have this new video studio that we did the first show, like, when was that? I guess that was like a month ago now.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. But we have this video studio, and what I want to do is pull in different people that are going to do different classes on, you know, anything from entrepreneurship and online marketing to startups, venture investing, real estate, crypto, blockchain development, you know, just everything and anything that's related to any of the promising legs that we see, right? Any of those different markets. So I'm super excited about that. And I think you guys will really enjoy kind of these adjustments. Yeah, Galaxy, that's kind of the point of having the video studio, is we're going to do, you know, more of those like multi-people conversations. Because it's one thing to have one person kind of teaching a topic. It's another when you can get like a panel of people that, you know, have expertise in a certain market. So here's some upgrades that we're making to Discord. The first thing is we're going to be adding some stock market channels and alerts. So we're going to have a chat. Travis is going to post his watch lists, also any market news, and also trade alerts for stocks. And then we're also adding personal finance channels. So, you know, talking about passive investing, rewards points hacking, tax strategies. Also, you know, like just any opportunities that Nikki sees as a way to either, you know, like high yield savings or like special deals from banks or brokerage accounts, you know, stuff like that. Just really good resources that can move the needle for you in these different areas. Also, you know, when it comes to like the tax stuff, obviously, like, we're not CPAs and we can't give tax advice for people in different countries, but the stock market is absolutely accessible to people around the world. Trav, you want to speak to that? Like, who has access to the U.S. markets?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the developed markets like the U.S., a lot of the European markets, the Australian market, Singapore, Hong Kong. You know, those are tradable by most investors in most of those countries. So, you know, and I particularly love to go hunt for bargains. And for instance, I think right now Europe has some really interesting stock bargains. So we'll definitely be delving into some of the international positions in some of our you know, trades and watch lists and things like that. So my focus is absolutely going to be global. You know, I do tend towards more of a U.S. bias, but I think having an international focus definitely makes sense where possible.
Yeah.
Gives us more hunting grounds.
Yep. And then let's see. Nate says, will you be recommending trading platforms for stocks? Yeah, that will be part of like the micro courses. You know, just in the quick start guides is basically like, how do you get started the right way?
I'm going to cover all of that, actually.
Yeah.
The different platforms and how to use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's some things that we're excited about, guys, just to kind of recap. You know, going into next year, I'm really looking forward to getting out of the fall season that we've been in and going back into phase one, accumulation. And, you know, just talking a little bit about that. I did a YouTube video where I kind of ran some timelines and some periods. Like, we have the halving in 2020, and typically what we've seen in the 2012 and the 2016 halvings was the markets go into the spring season prior to those because people start to buy in anticipation of that. So there could be a fundamental news event that makes that happen either sooner or later. So we don't know until it starts to happen. But that's one thing, excuse me, that's one thing that I've just been thinking a lot about is preparing for this next market cycle and how to position and really maximize opportunities there. And then also security token investments, both in the assets themselves, right, and the tradable stuff that's coming down the pipeline, and the companies that are building the ecosystem for security tokens, right? Like there's only a few out there right now. And I think next year is going to be the year that we really start to see profitability in those spaces, right? Like one of my favorite types of companies in crypto is the exchanges, because they just make so much damn money on commissions and fees, right? I think that's going to be something similar in the security token model. Like the companies that exist to support that ecosystem are going to be, some of them are going to be wildly profitable. And I want to get in on those companies. So that's what I'm excited about. Also, stock market volatility. You know, we recently saw stocks are now, I guess, officially in a bear market. I mean, would you say that's the case, Trav?
Yeah. Certain markets are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, we're down like what, 20% or so off of the highs. So I think what makes it exciting about that is like, the volatility equals opportunity, and maybe some more realistic valuations where we can start seeing some like deep discounted opportunities.
Yep.
And then also entrepreneurship opportunities, both, you know, kind of on the lifestyle business, online income, you know, either acquiring or building assets, to venture investing, right, and startups. So I know this is a lot. We're making like quite a bit of changes and throwing a lot at you. So we are recording this if you guys want to go back and watch any of it. But again, our goal with the Skill Incubator is to give you guys as much value as we possibly can, and not just hammer the same stuff that we've been doing, right? Like we want to continue to grow. We want to get better. We want to add stuff, and we want to help you guys get the best return on your time too, right? And that's why we're kind of consolidating the classes. We're launching new stuff. We're going to have a weekly focus in stocks for those of you that are interested in really grabbing that by the horns. And I'm just looking forward to having a really kick-ass 2019.
We did get asked Travis if you are going to do any options stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I've traded quite a bit of options. I think that we'll probably do some stuff on that, particularly in maybe the weekly working sessions. We'll have to figure out the right format for that, but we'll definitely touch on options.
Yeah. I mean, options are a good, I think, strategy, but a lot of people approach it the wrong way, right?
Right. Yeah. And I would say that I think we'll try to focus on options for people who are, more advanced and who have been trading markets for, let's say, more than 3 years or so.
Yeah.
Options are really just a way to get more leverage on your bets. So taking positions with extra leverage and extra focus on like nailing the timing of a trade. So there are some option strategies, for instance, that focus like on playing volatility and things like that. And we can talk about how to get into that. But options are a good way for beginners to wipe themselves out when they're looking for like those, really large gains. So we're going to have to be a little bit careful about how we approach recommending options trading, but we'll definitely touch on it for those people who it's right for.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Question says, curious about your thoughts on the long-term viability of cryptos in general, focusing on decentralization, open source, as they compete against more well-established firms that are getting patents with proprietary blockchain implementations like IBM and Hyperledge as examples. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of a broad question. I mean, I'm super, super bullish on the future of crypto. What does that mean? Like, well, I think this space has attracted a lot of talent over the past couple of years, and it's not an easy ride, right? For those of you that were with us through 2014, you guys know that we're experiencing kind of the same market sentiment and same saltiness, and there's a lot of people like whining and crying, and that just comes with a bear market, right? But if you look at the development and the progress that's being made, aside from all the scammy ICO bullshit, right? Like a lot of that, I just look at and I'm like, man, I wish most of that never happened, because all that did was create a lot of people that lost a lot of money throwing their money at scams, right? So I like a lot of altcoins that I think are trying to compete and create real projects, but that's why so many of these have to fail too, right? Like there was so much bullshit that was created that really never needed to be there in the first place. And that's why I'm actually more excited. It's weird to say this because I know, you know, altcoins are down over 90% as by market cap, but this is where you get kind of that plateau of productivity now, right? Like if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, you have the big boom and bust, and then from that comes the real innovation. So like I can't really speak too much to like the competition between like startups versus incumbents like IBM. I think, you know, there's benefits to being a startup, and there's benefits to being small and nimble and being able to move fast. But there's also benefits to like IBM and the capital they have and the leverage they have. I don't know which projects are going to win necessarily. I know Rocky's made some big bets on some stuff right now. I've been more kind of just watching and being more conservative. I don't know. Do you guys have any input? And Rocky, if you're on the mic, feel free to chime in too.
Chris, I think your analogy earlier about the, the tech boom and bust is pretty apt. Where you saw, companies that like Cosmo and Pets.com fail, and, hundreds of other, no-name companies that are gone. You also had the rise of companies like Booking, Amazon, so you're going to, I think, see something similar in crypto. So you're like probably getting closer to the pessimistic bottom, and a lot of people are washing out. And so the ones that are going to be finding those 10 to 100x are going to be the ones that kind of stick through it.
Yeah.
So, but there'll be opportunities. Like, it's not like you have to nail the bottom and pick the winners right at the very bottom. Like you'll be able to, pick some that way, but then you'll be able to find others along the way, like as the market continues to recover. So like you could have bought Amazon in 2002 and made an incredible amount of money, or you could have bought it in 2005 and it made an incredible amount of money, or you could have even bought Amazon in 2010 and bought and made a ton of money.
Yeah, I tweeted a picture of Amazon stock from the 2000 bubble, and like I asked like who can guess what chart this is, because it looked like a shitcoin ICO that like pumped and then like died. It had over a 90% pullback, and then it is what it is today. Yeah, so like there's a lot of people that are salty right now that are just too focused on the damn short term.
Yeah,
it's like get out of this day-to-day mentality of like focusing on like, I have a drawdown in one crypto or my entire crypto portfolio. Like, yeah, I get it. We're in a bear market, and that's what happens. And unless you are net short the entire bear market, you're going to experience drawdowns, but that's okay. And one thing to say about that, just kind of on the mental side, which I think is going to be a big focus this year, is the fact that even if you're invested in the stock market, I read this book by Meb Faber. He was talking about the fact that your portfolio, 80% of the time is in the stock market is not going to be at an all-time high. You're going to be in some sort of drawdown from your all-time high portfolio value 80% of the time. Think about that. 4 out of 5 days on average, your account is not at the highest it's ever been. Yet if you ride waves and ride the runs and retracements and accumulate and trade and invest properly, over time, you're going to accumulate a lot of wealth. And that's what I want to help you guys focus on is, yes, when the short-term opportunities are there, nail them and go for it. And when they're not, don't let your emotions take over and get salty. And also, think about the longer term so you can survive these times, build alternative legs, right? Build that financial stability, set up your financial foundation the right way, minimize taxes, maximize cash flow, set up multiple sources of income. And then if you develop the skill of trading and the crypto markets give us a bunch of awesome opportunities like we saw in 16 and 17, then you're ready to nail it. And like a lot of you guys did, made a life-changing amount of money, right? But step 1, you got to show up. Step 2, you got to learn to survive. Then you can thrive. And end of rant.
I saw some questions earlier about really just addressing how the community is changing for people that are really focused on crypto, in terms of like the timing of market updates and when the classes are going to be. Did y'all want to address that?
Oh yeah, I talked about the are you talking about the schedule?
Yeah, I think people were still just wanting to make sure that they understood how the crypto updates were changing.
Yeah. So yeah, guys. So this is the schedule going forward. Instead of doing Monday through Friday classes, we're going to do an extended class on Thursday, a little later in the afternoon. And we're going to basically dive more into, like right now we're just focusing a lot on price charts. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in like things that we're looking at, like deals we're evaluating, like early stage stuff, progress that we see being made, like basically preparing for the next market cycle, right? And then if we go back into a time period where it's like, we're getting trades like every other day, then we'll throw in more crypto classes. But for now, we don't need a daily market update where 4 out of 5 days are inside trading days, right? And then what that's going to do is give you guys more time to free up to build other legs and also, focus on stock market stuff and, the foundational financial stuff, entrepreneurship, angel investing, right? Like we're just adding all of this in. And then, like we said, like with the leg concept, we can put our focus where the best opportunity is, right? So like if we flip and we go back into a phase 2 in crypto, we're going to hammer that. Or if we start to see a ton of opportunity in a particular sector of the stock market, we're going to focus there, or if STOs, right? So we're just going to be nimble and dynamic and go where the opportunity is.
And Chris, just to, I think, let everybody know, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the markets really start to heat up, and as if we move into the more active seasons, the timing of updates may change again. So this isn't set in stone.
Yeah, absolutely. Rock, were you chiming in there?
Yeah, I'll just add to everything. So everybody should know now, based on the past month's market updates, that I'm moving more in towards longer term investing, cycle to cycle, now that the prices are lower, versus trying to catch every little trade and fluctuation. And that I'm probably about maybe 60 to 70% done accumulating from my trading accounts, which is basically just risk capital that I'm going to be pulling off of my trading accounts, exchanges, and into just long-term cold storage.
Yeah.
And my timeline that I'm gunning for is about 2020 to 2021, or specific price points for my investments, whichever come first, if those price points happen. And also, I just want to get away from just over analyzing things. Like if we do end up in another year-long grind, like a 2015, I don't want to be like over analyzing the markets every day, right? Because over analyzing can lead to over trading.
Yep.
Sometimes if you get bored with some sideways chop, it can lead to over trading that feel quote unquote productive. Also, I want to reduce my my taxes, right? Because if I'm like actively trading all the time right now, from a strategic standpoint, I'm paying 50% tax. But if I fall back into more of like a passive investor, then I'll go back into capital gains, which will be anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending on what my gains amount is. So also from a strategic vantage point, it makes better sense for me to just accumulate at the lows and hold until we obtain another crypto market cycle. And another interesting thing about everything that we're doing right now is, let's say you are new to crypto, and let's say you didn't make a ton of money in 2017. For anybody who was with us in 2017 and made a lot of money, or was with us before that, you'll know that once you make a bunch of money, you're basically at a point of like, what do you do with it, right? So you have to learn how to manage that money. You have to learn how to reduce your taxes. You have to learn how to diversify into other assets like stocks and real estate and so on and so forth. Because if you just sit on a pile of cash, and it's good to have some cash, of course, but if you just sit on a pile of fiat is basically eroding due to inflation. So you got to keep pace with the market. You have to basically outpace inflation. Otherwise, just look at the value of the dollar since like the past 100 years, right? You basically don't want to just sit on piles of fiat all day. So you still need to always do something to manage and make that active. And, you know, a lot of that process, like I've learned a lot more about that process over the past year. And it's one thing to make money. It's a whole other thing to keep it. And you'll see how quickly it erodes once taxes kick in and other things, right?
Yeah.
So we just want to give people like a really good, solid foundation moving into the next cycle. And, you know, I'm still a firm believer that, you know, the crypto markets are cyclical and that there's some good crypto investments and the industry is growing. But we need to make best use of our time and be strategists. And to strategize, you need to pivot and go to the drawing board and figure out what the best plan of action is. Also, what's exciting about these new changes is that because the stock market has entered into a bear trend, in my opinion, I think it's actually a really, really good time to be focusing on stocks for two reasons. Number one, increased volatility that we see in the initial drop on bear trends, bounce plays like we saw yesterday. We saw an epic 5% bounce in the markets. So there's a lot more increased volatility, but also buy low, sell high, right? Chris posted a very interesting article yesterday in the investment chat about debt cycles and how it affects the overall greater market. A lot of people might have seen in the news, you know, the increased interest rates that with the Fed and how that's affecting the markets and stuff. So I highly suggest reading that article that Chris posts in the investment chat to get a grasp over macroeconomics. But in my opinion, the best time to build a stock portfolio is when prices are low, right before the next cycle. Just like crypto, right? Buy low, sell high. The best time to have bought and invested in crypto was in 2015. And I believe, you know, if you look back to stock market cycles, the best time to have built a portfolio in the last 10 years was in 2008 when everything was in the gutter, right? 2009. Yep. So it's just good to pivot and strategize and make the best use of one's time and efficiency.
Exactly. Were you going to say something, Trev? Okay. Yeah. So I saw a couple of questions talking about like, well, you know, what do you do if you didn't make a ton of money in 16, 17? And what do you do if you're just coming into this? Here's what I think, having been through a few cycles now, like the best strategy and like the best use of time during the fall and the winter crypto seasons is quite simply like generate as much free cash flow as possible so you can invest, accumulate at or during phase one, right? So like when the markets are slow, guys, I don't sit there and try to squeeze blood out of a stone. Whatever that analogy is.
Yeah, that's right? Correct.
Okay, cool. I don't sit there and try to like whack profits out of a market that sucks. What I do is I look for the low-hanging fruit, right? I say, okay, what are ways that I can just generate as much free monthly cash flow and stack that capital? That way, when we go into the winter season and we start to accumulate, which you could have already started doing now, right? Like Rocky's gone in pretty aggressively, may experience some drawdowns in some positions. That's fine. You might be more conservative. You might be waiting longer term, right? Like it doesn't matter how you do it as long as you do it in a way that fits your risk tolerance. And I think the best strategy during slow market times is just generate cash, generate non-market related income. That way you can pile that in when the time's right? Prepare. And, you know, I'm just thinking about, you know, different ways that you can do that. Like online stuff, guys, is so risk adverse and it takes such low capital to do that. There's so many different, I mean, anything from being a freelancer or creating content or supporting some kind of ecosystem. Like there are just so many ways that you can stack passive and active income sources online, or just traditional entrepreneurship, you know, building an offline business. Like we want to help you guys maximize those opportunities and maximize your time.
Yeah, and I would say like there's going to be more content than ever for the community. So like if people, I saw a couple people were saying, oh, they're going to miss the daily updates, and again, the timing of those may change when the market picks back up as well. But
Yeah.
but in the near term, there's going to be more content and activity in the community than ever for you to digest. So I wouldn't worry about having the the daily chatter from people talking about opportunities. And I can tell you this, in stocks, we're going to be hunting actively and giving lots of trade opportunities in the near term, because I see a ton out there right
It's
now.
going to be lit.
Yeah,
Stock chat's going to be lit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rocky's not going anywhere. You know, we're buckling down and we're preparing, right? It's that season. And I think we would be doing a disservice just doing what we've continued to do, right? Like in trying to treat this coming year like it was 2016 or 17, right? This year has been a very interesting year in that, you know, yes, prices have deflated, but there's also, and Rocky said this a lot, on a fundamental level, this is like the most positive year for crypto on a fundamental scale, right? With all these derivatives launching, with all these like actual projects and STO stuff coming down the line. So like, again, I have no emotional attachment to price. I'm focusing on the progress and the development. And that's why like the market updates are going to shift to focusing more on that. Like, okay, let's talk about what the next 12 to 24 month plays look like, and just make sure that you guys are positioned in a way that when things start to pop off, you're ready for it. So,
Chris, we did get a question about the boot camp class.
Yeah.
That is a totally separate thing. So do you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah. So we are going to have like higher level stuff, like the crypto boot camp, right? Like the 60-day thing. We are not accepting new people for that right now. We are going to do a launch next year. But our focus right now is the community. We're also going to do, like Travis is working on like a master's level investing course for anybody that wants to learn basically everything that he knows. He's going to do like a boot camp style at that level for anybody that decides they want to be active and they want to basically learn everything that Trav knows from working at Goldman and, you know, the hedge funds and all that stuff. Or if you just want to be more passive or just kind of learn through activity, right? Like in the markets, you can do that too. We're also going to be doing some live events, right? So the Cayman event was super fun last year. So we're hoping to do, you know, a few live events this year as well. But again, you know, our main focus going into January is just adding as much value to the community as we can, and making sure you guys are prepared for the next crypto phase, and just maximize your time, right? Maximize your money, maximize your focus, and optimize what you're doing on a daily basis.
But the Q&A classes will continue, correct? The boot camp Q&A classes.
Yeah. For anybody that's active in the boot camp. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys are currently going through that, nothing changes for you. For the next, I'd say like 60 to 90 days, like we're going to just be really honed in on the community. So yeah. Any other questions, guys, that I missed? Questions, comments? You guys excited about this stuff? Sweet. All right. Rock, you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, our Thursday classes will be a little bit longer and also more structured as well.
Yeah.
You know, we'll probably kick it off with, you know, looking at major news events that happened in the week. Then we'll look at some TA stuff, maybe stuff around more fundamental security tokens, maybe some lessons in there, and then polish it up with like Q&A stuff.
Yep.
People have questions, we'll end them with Q&A stuff. So it's basically just being more efficient with the updates, because, you know, with the price action, we've had months of just flat price action. And so I don't want to just necessarily repeat the same thing every day. And, you know, it's better to kind of maximize and make things more efficient and a condensed weekly update alongside with the other great things we're adding.
Yep. Yeah. So again, just to kind of recap the classes. So and we'll send an email with this, but Monday at 4:30. So after market close, Trav's going to do his class. And then Thursday, Rocky and I are going to do an extended crypto update. And again, that's while we're in the winter season. You know, if things pick up and we're like, yo, we need to do more classes, we'll do them. But again, our goal is not just to talk more. It's to get you guys to focus on what's going to move the needle in the biggest way, right? And then we'll have bi-weekly exclusive classes, working sessions, interviews, Q&As. We're really going to leverage the new video studio that we have for you guys and bring in some really badass entrepreneurs and investors. So. Yeah, Sid. So you can invest in the American markets or international markets, you know, Europe, Asia. Like Trav said, he's mostly focused on the US markets, but that strategy applies to other markets, right?
Yeah. We're going to try to hunt for some ideas in other markets as well. And the strategies that we use will pretty much be applicable to, most of the major stock markets across the world. You know, there are a few stock markets that where access can be limited. So places like, the Shanghai exchanges and things like that, you are a little more difficult to get access to as a U.S. or European-based investor. But where we can, we're going to we're going to try to hunt for opportunities and trade opportunities. So, stock markets that I have often been active in include the U.S. market, the Canadian market, Mexico, Brazil, Australia, Norway, France, the U.K., Germany, Italy,
Korea, right?
Korea. Although Korea is a little tricky because a lot of the companies' information is kind of obscured because it's in Korean. But if you know Korean. And then in Japan, and I know I'm forgetting a couple, but Singapore, Hong Kong. So, those are probably the markets I know the best. There are probably some other smaller ones, but those are the ones I would say we'd focus on.
Yep. As far as like minimums in the stock market, so we're not going to be focused on day trading. So the only real restriction in the stock market is called the pattern day trader rule. So if you're taking more than 3 round trip trades a week, I think is what it is still, then you need 25K to be able to trade. But, and there's pros and cons to brokers like Robinhood, but like with those, I don't think there's really an account minimum, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
Robinhood and some of the online brokers. So.
No minimum.
Yeah.
But you'll be, yeah.
Yeah, you can get involved in stocks with a pretty low amount of starting capital, which is really nice.
Yeah. And Nick, you're only sending that to panelists. You have to hit all attendees.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some brokers that will only allow you to access certain markets. So, for instance, I use a broker that has pretty broad access. So it may vary. Your access may vary depending on your asset level and the broker that you use. But we'll try to get people. We'll try to give tips and resources for people if they're having trouble accessing certain markets.
Yep. All right. Sorry about coughing in your face there. Cool. Good stuff, guys. Yeah. And here's the thing. Like if there's anything that like big that happens in the markets, like Discord's not going anywhere. Like we're going to obviously have like the live chat set up and, we're going to kind of consolidate some of the stuff since we're adding so much. So we're going to try to simplify the back end a little bit. But yeah, I mean, really nothing's changing. Like we're kind of consolidating the weekly class while it's slow.
Yeah.
So. Cool. So let me go ahead and wrap up the class for the recording. I know we've been going for a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Again, these changes are going to be launching next week. So I'm going to send an email again with like a recap of what we talked about. And tomorrow we're going to be doing a regular market update for crypto. So Friday, and then starting next week, it's New Year's. So we're not going to be doing a stock class on Monday, but we will be doing a really deep crypto class on Thursday. And yeah, that's it, guys. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm excited about all these changes. I know you're going to get a ton of value from it, and just looking forward to having a really awesome 2019.
Take care, folks. Cheers.
All right. Trav, Nick, you have any final thoughts? Or
I'm excited.
Pumped.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Good seeing y'all through the webinar, at least. And yeah, talk to you guys soon.